Hello and welcome to this video. If you're new here, I'm Dana and I've been an interior designer for the past few years and I make videos about interior design. And in this video, I just actually want to really show you what it is like to study interior design and what it means to be an interior designer. Okay, so the first thing you need to know before starting your interior design degree is that interior design is not decorating. So a lot of those interior design shows that you see on TV, they're not actually interior designers, they are actually interior decorators. So the roles of an interior decorator include ordering furniture and change things like the wall color, and more often than not it's in residential settings. They usually tend to do that without drawings, whereas an interior designer actually needs to adhere to building codes, and we learn how to do all sorts of technical drawings like sections and elevations and layout plans. We even learn how to do a plumbing layout, a fire escape layout, a site plan. And usually what happens with an interior designer is that they get a shelf from an architect and then you can decide what goes where. So you can, for example, decide, okay, I actually don't want the wall there, I'm going to knock it down. You can move doors and you create a concept and a layout first, and then you produce a lot of drawings and a lot of visuals. And that is the main job of what an interior designer does. You just produce a lot of drawings on the computer and you sit at your desk a long time and you only rarely do site visits. And interior designers don't just work in residential settings, but also in commercial settings, which then follows a whole set of different regulations. So if you know a little bit of the work that an architect does, interior designers actually do very, very similar work to them, but they only affect the inside of a building. So I hope that helped clear up some things just so that you know what you're getting yourself into. And I know that there also is a little bit of confusion of the difference between an interior designer and an interior architect. I would say you can almost use those two terms interchangeably. So then moving on to what you can expect to learn at uni and how the course is structured. In first year, you usually learn all the basics, you learn all the sketching techniques, and you get to wrap your head around technical drawings, and you basically learn how to hand draw everything, how architects and interior designers used to do it back in the day. And that was basically my whole first year of just getting to grips with everything and to actually just do everything on paper. And I actually found that so useful. And then in second and third year, you actually move on to software, which does make the process a lot quicker, but then the projects become a lot bigger as well. In first year, the projects are generally really small. Here is an example project from first year from start to finish. A project starts with zonal layouts. For this project, we drew out all the furniture beforehand, and then I arranged all the furniture on a printed out plan. And this was done so that we could learn spatial planning and that we would just try multiple different layouts. For each project in the future, we needed to at least have tried 3 different layouts. I started drawing out the sections on tracing paper, and then I put another layer of tracing paper on top of that and used a ruler and a fine liner to make sure to draw straight lines. And then I scanned in that tracing paper and printed it out, and it was ready to be rendered. And then here you can see the completed project, from rendered plans to rendered sections to, last but not least, a rendered perspective. Another important thing to know before you start uni is what tools you will need for the course. And here is a quick overview of that. Each year I had 4 projects, apart from in the third year where I had one massive project. You also learn a lot of design principles, for example, how much space the sink, fridge and stove can be apart, and that they're usually arranged in a triangle. So as I already said, you learn how to do mood boards and concept boards. And the difference between those is that a mood board just creates a mood. Basically, you just pick out a few pictures. So I would say a minimum of 3 to maybe a maximum of 6 or 7 pictures, and you create a general feel of what you want the space to feel like. So for example, if you wanted the space to feel really 1920s, then you would just add some like flapper girls or some golden elements and some 1920s shapes. Whereas when you want to create a cozy beachy home, you would, for example, add a picture of the ocean, a picture of the sand, just a bit more beiges and blues. You would just create this feeling of being by the coast through the pictures, and you do not need any specific furniture items or anything that you are actually going to do to the space to be in a mood board, because that is what's going to be included in a concept board. So let's say you want to create an oceanfront house and you want for it to feel quite beachy. So maybe you had the idea of kind of creating a half and half wall and having a wavy line go across it. You can also include specific furniture that you want to add, but what's the nice thing to do is put a few color swatches on the concept board and to really include some solid ideas. So for example, the shapes that you're going to bring in, or that you're going to bring in a lot of wood tones. I hope that makes it a little bit more clear. So then once you know what a mood and concept board is, as I said before, you learn what a layout is and you learn how to create a functioning layout. Then you learn what an axonometric and an isometric drawing is. Then you learn what a section and an elevation is, and you learn what a perspective is. And then you also learn how to just render everything. At the end of each project, you will do a presentation, and for that you also learn how to lay out a presentation, how to give it its own personality. That is really, really important. Some of my early presentations were just white and really, really plain, but the important thing in an interior design presentation is that it has a little bit of your personality and that it is recognizable. But again, for example, if you're doing a beachy house, then you might just want to also keep the presentation in really muted colors, and you could even just create shapes of the water. And then you will also learn how to build models out of cardboard. Cardboard models are really time consuming, but they do want you to learn how to do that because that is a traditional way of working within the architecture field. I also then learned a lot of background on specific architects and how they work. There are some architects that play with where they place the windows, and we got to learn a lot about architectural history as well. That was actually one entire module, and I actually found that so interesting to just get a bit of background. So how my course was structured and how a lot of interior design courses are structured is that there's 4 different modules. The first module was a designing module, the second module was a technical drawing module, the third module was a drawing conventions module and learning techniques to support your design, and then the 4th module was learning about the architects and history and how to create your own essay. Another thing that's really important is to just keep an eye out what new sustainable materials are out there, and I know that some unis include some learning about that as well. We also learned the structure of a house and what the layers of a floor are and how the walls are built, how there's a difference between a cavity wall and a stud wall, and we even did a model just to really understand what a house is basically made out of. I know I've spoken a lot about first year, but in second and third year you just build upon your knowledge. You're starting to do bigger projects and you're mainly going to be using SketchUp and AutoCAD. They do like to teach you those at uni because in industry those are widely used, but there are so many other softwares out there. I was quite lucky because my uni also taught me Revit, which is used a lot in industry as well, especially if you're collaborating with architects. At uni it's quite important to just get to know as many softwares as you can. So our first project in second year was actually a restaurant design. We designed that in SketchUp, but we didn't actually render our final drawings yet. So that was just for us to first gain the knowledge on how to work in SketchUp. And then gradually, as the projects progressed, we also learned how to render. And then another thing is my uni really made sure that we had a variety of projects. So for example, in first year we did one residential project, and in second year we did an art installation, a restaurant and a shop. And then we also did an airport lounge. So there's quite a lot of variety, and that just goes to show in how many different fields an interior designer can really work in. Just to go over a few: hospitality, commercial design, office design, boat design, public spaces, schools, theatre. And then, as I said before, in third year we had one big project and we had to create an entire building, and that building had to have one main purpose for the community. So in my case it was a youth centre, and then it had to have 2 ways of creating money. So I created a library and a restaurant within it, and that project was over the span of 1 entire year. and we did all the technical drawings from site plan to fire escape plan to what the local amenities were, and then we did a demolition plan, a construction plan, we did a furniture layout, we did an electrical layout, we did a lighting layout, we did a plumbing layout, we did all sorts of things. Maybe I can include them all within the video. It was really a lot, but this video is just here to give you a quick taste of what it actually is like to study interior design and what you can expect. I will say is that at times it can be very, very demanding, and you definitely can feel like all those deadlines are creeping up on you and you can feel really stressed and like there's a lot to do. But I also felt like it was quite fun to learn something new and to be so creative and to really just do what you want to do. I really enjoyed my studies, but I know that there can be some tough times, but just know that that's normal and you learn to move through them, and with each project your skills improve. One little caveat with that I will say is though that after uni the real world does look a little bit different. It's not quite as creative, but you can watch some of my other videos for some more information on that. And yeah, that was this week's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it useful, and I will see you very soon with another video. Goodbye.